As we go live on February 28th, 2023, my name is Joey Ragona. Welcome to Marketing Made Easy. This is an amazing, amazing show. I know it's going to be an amazing show. I'm already predicting it because I know what we're going to be talking about. But more importantly, it's because of what we've already been talking about. And when I say we, I'm talking about my good friend Scott Vogel and myself I can't call it the blue room anymore. I can't call it the green room. So, like, what do I
No,
call this thing, man?
anything you want, Joey. Whatever you call it, I'll be okay with.
All right, my friend. I'll call it anything I want, Joey. So we're
You
in.
know what, Joey? I just gonna, you get on and the energy that you bring to the table, to the live, to the show, to the tribe, to the audience, to the world, the communities everywhere. It's just tremendous. And I know that you've been on coaching calls all day and you've been on academy all day and you've been serving people and you've been, doing your message navigator and back and forth with people and doing what you do and constantly just deciphering information. And then you still get on here at 7 o'clock and you're like, bam, it's time to go.
Thank
So
you,
I
man.
I always look forward to this because it doesn't matter how I might feel or that. It's 7 o'clock on Tuesday night. So it's marketing made easy. And here we go.
I appreciate that, and you're right. Like these are one of the most intense days ever for me right now, and it's cool. And I think this all goes back to what we talk about every week, which is just loving what you do and really get charged up. Your batteries are charged because of the people you get to work with, and it's
Yeah.
not just this. I don't know. It's not just this thing to say. It's like how we actually live. And you're right. Like at the end of the day, normally as an introvert, really, I would be, that's enough for me. I need to recharge. But I've
Mhm.
been, you know, charging my batteries all day long. After this call, a little different story because it's then my brain automatically, for some reason, knows, okay, you don't have any more to do tonight.
Yeah.
Chill. And it just shuts down. I don't know. It's so weird how your body and your mind reacts to what's happening.
I think it's just how everything we do and the mindset and the systems that we put ourselves in, we train the mind to train the brain to train the body to know it's like, okay, it's Tuesday night and it's after 8 o'clock and we've done what we've done and you did all this stuff and now it's time to not do it. Because again, you get on with people and you transform their lives and you help them with the knowledge, wisdom, and insight that you were talking about, earlier on in your reading something to me. And when you get to do that all the time and you start to see and people change their life and you save their life in what you do, you don't ever say that, but I always do,
Thanks.
because you do in how you have built what you've built to enable people to succeed online in a wonderful way. And to come on here after doing all day long what you're talking about, serving, and then show up and do it again. Because when we're doing it with clients and others, there's so much that's happening there, and we're using our superpowers and zone of genius. And then we get on here, and I'm sure there's a topic somewhere along the line that we'll get to at some point in this whatever number show it is, 161 or two or something. And it's invigorating. And for anybody that doesn't do this, it's kind of like we talked about. Do Even if you don't go live with somebody every week, hang out with somebody once a week. Do a couple of pomodoros,
Right.
brainstorm together, come up and mastermind. I don't care what you call it or what you do, but especially for online entrepreneurs, and it's kind of an interesting, lonely world that we're in. And so when we get to really help people out and create this, I don't know what would happen if Tuesday came and I wasn't on here. I'd be like, what's missing from, be almost like not going to yoga ever again. It'd be
Yeah,
weird.
it's so
Anyway,
it's so weird because not weird, but it's kind of funny that my wife was asking me this morning. She goes like, what do you want to do for dinner tonight?" And she goes, "Oh yeah, it's the show tonight. Like whatever, I'll figure it all out." And it's like, and like, yeah, she knows that. We talked about this before. Like our whole circle and our world knows what's going on. But like we've been doing this for 3 years, man. Like it's just a staple in our life. Like so. Anyway, thank you for being here and being a part of it and serving the world the way that we do. And thank you, Collie. I believe that's Collie for the comment here. bringing this to our attention. You're both amazing in so many ways. The mind and body are incredible. Every day is a blessing. Love and soul hugs. It's got to be Kali, right? That's her signature. And
That is Kali. No ifs, ands, or buts. Love and soul hugs. She is like consistent forever. There is no. It's kind of like do different, dude. You, Joey.
yeah.
She is always. And Jeffrey is here from Salt Lake City. Hi, Jeffrey.
Jeffrey.
Oh,
Jeffrey's actually he's joining us in the new Atlas coming up on Monday. Actually, we start. So congratulations to
Monday.
you, Jeffrey.
What number Atlas is this, Joey?
10. I believe it's is it
The
10?
10th cohort. And how long has this been?
I
That
think
you've
it's
been
been
doing
I
Atlas?
think it's 10, bro. So May 2021, I believe it was. May
So, Joey, I'm going
2021.
to jump in and take control because I can. And just wanted to honor you for your 10th cohort. And more importantly, just again, the whole concept of what you've built here. You are one that you don't just talk the talk, you walk it. Everything that you say is what you do. And especially with you teach people how to get dream clients or how to have dream clients find you and how to go out and do the pre-fluence and the benefit breadcrumbs and learn how to communicate in that and not spend months and money and fortunes and life and destroy yourself building something maybe nobody will want. And then you've taken it and you've evolved it and you stay in your lane. You stay, the guardrails are there. You don't go off, okay, I'm going to go teach this thingy because I can. You stay with it. You go deeper into it. It evolves. And because you're so deep into it, because you're so focused into it, nothing else gets in the way. And all of your energy and attention for 10 cohorts has been how do I do this better? And I'm saying this because it's so anti everything out there, which is, go do this and funnels and this and throw that and this and that. You're like, look, just do this. Focus on this one thing over and get so damn good. The outliers, the 10,000 hour rule. I mean, what you deliver in Atlas now is compared to when you like 2 years ago were like, I think I'm going to do this thing and call it Atlas. And then you did it, and you focused on it, and you delivered it. And each time you deliver it, you make it better and different because it's a new audience of dream clients. And you've gotten so good at the curation piece because you learn so much each iteration. And I'm
Yeah.
saying these because it's so important for people to understand this, that you're not here hawking a program to see how many you can sell. You're here to save people's lives whose lives have been pretty much messed up, screwed up with the pablum of guru marketing things that just don't work anymore. And 15 years ago, yeah, run traffic to a funnel that you sell an ebook for $7 and then upsell it to a $49 thing to a $97. That worked great 15 years ago in the pioneer days when all people bought was ebooks. Now, all this stuff and AI and this, forget about it. Forget the bright and shiny objects. I'm just pushing it back to you is I've watched this guy for almost 4 years now, and I want you to watch and follow and listen. There isn't a space on my desk that I can't reach and pull something that is yours,
Thank
that
you.
you've developed with, and again, you've developed it with the genius and superpowers of others. You say you stand on the shoulders of giants, and you do,
100%.
and I give you credit for that. And Jeffrey, you're in for an unbelievably amazing experience because I went through it myself and it changed the way I do things. And
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to say that, Joey, because again, watching you do it and you stay true to it. I watch other people out there who one thing, and then all of a sudden they're hawking this thing. And I'm like, wait a second, what happened to that? Now you're this, and now you're this. Leave me alone. Where, and I'll say this, we used to joke about it because there's a video testimonial that says Joey's not a scumbag.
Right.
And I bring that up because somebody said that, because unfortunately in this online world, in the beginning, everybody is like amazing and wonderful and fantastic. And then this whole digital relationship thing, things change and people change. You don't. You show up, you do what you say you're going to do, you're consistent, you provide value, you're open, you're vulnerable, you're transparent, you're honest. And anybody watching or anybody thinking, and I'm not selling anything for you, but we don't do that on here. I'm just saying that it's amazing to have watched you build over the years and just a fly on the wall watching it and hanging out with you and seeing this and that. And each time you come and appear, there's a new level and a depth of it. And I want, again, anyone watching, there's a new level and a depth of it because he's so entrenched in it. Again, the 10,000 hour rule, the outliers, this group of four guys went to Amsterdam and played in cabarets for every night for years on end, like for years, like 9 hours a night. How good do you think those four guys got? And that's the Beatles. It's the
Right.
same thing. I look at how good you've gotten, Joey, in delivering what it is. And we talk about the dream client statement, and we talk about chain of beliefs and all the things in Atlas
Right.
that you told me today that you're doing chain of beliefs again, and how vitally important it is that people learn that and understand this whole thing at a higher level. You're not bringing out, and as Jeffrey said here, bright shiny objects. That's not yours. Are not bright shiny objects. There's nothing that you're bringing that's, oh my God, this is amazing, and I'm going to do this. It's like, okay, I really need to look at this, and I need to evaluate this, and I need to understand. Really, you mean I can't just run a whole bunch of ads on Facebook and Google AdWords and to my funnel and this and that? And by the way, for those watching, if you don't read Joey's emails, sign up for everything, get into his email sequences. You've heard me say this before. Save them, download them,
Thanks,
print
man.
them out. Again, Joey, I'm not doing this for any reason other
I
than
know, man. I really appreciate it.
what
Yeah.
you share with people and how you do truly. I've been in this thing, this internet online marketing thing, kind of since its inception. I
Yeah.
didn't invent it. That ain't me. But I've watched it and I've studied everybody and everything. And the lens that I come from is what you do makes waking up easier. It just, I was struggling a few months ago, big time, like really deeply struggling, dark despair time in my life. And it was just every Tuesday showing up and getting on with you and doing your things, and then just being like, let me try this, and getting back to, because I went off the rails. But there's the beauty of what you've developed is it's kind of like they say to me about my yoga. It will always be there whenever you want to go back to it. And I'm
Right.
going to
Right.
say the same thing. Joey's going to be here whenever you want to come back. And now, Joey, take the show wherever it's supposed to go.
That's amazing. I don't know what to say. I'm lost for words. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for those kind words. Thank you so much. This is definitely going to be one of those entries in my positivity journal, which I love to go back to and revisit because this was just an amazing intro. It was just an amazing thing to hear. So thank you for those kind words. And it's funny because you mentioned the whole the Joey is not a scumbag clip. I love that because even somebody today who I'm talking with for Atlas next week, she mentioned, she goes, there's one thing on your website I loved, and it was that Joey's not a scumbag clip. And I go, yeah, I love that one too, because it's like, it's not like again, if you're watching this, you're just brand new. It's not like people come in and go, yeah, Joey's a scumbag.
Right.
That's not why it's there. It's basically that coaches like coaches have this bad reputation and nobody trusts coaches, and I get that. And then one of my clients, Jeff, who went through Atlas, referenced it. You got to go on the website and check it out just to watch that little clip. It's like 2 minutes long. It's so funny when he says it. But he said, we were talking about the what was it, Scott? We were talking about the Atlas guarantee, where you can come back to as many cohorts as you want to get the promise, like the 5x of your money, right? And most people don't, like, they read it, but they don't really internalize it. And then when I was teaching it in Atlas to the tribe, and I mentioned like, here's what a guarantee looks like, and you guys went all through this. Do you remember this? And then he referenced it. And he goes, you know what? When you had us read the blueprint again, and I read that, he goes, I just couldn't believe it. Anyway, and that's what we were talking about. And he said like, yeah, I thought that, wow, Joey's not a scumbag. He actually does what he says he's going to do. So it was pretty funny that you referenced that and somebody else referenced it today in the email about that piece.
And Joey, I'm just going to keep jumping in here. So the way you do what you do for people to model is with your testimonials, with what people say and how they say, and how you just keep track of all that. And you
Yeah.
go deeper and deeper. You're very talented and skilled at that. And I know you don't necessarily, I don't think, teach that anywhere about how, I could have missed it, how you do the interviews and how you get the testimonials and how you get all that great stuff. I know it's because people just naturally want to say it, but you do it in an interesting way. And I know that I'm sure you have a framework in which you use so that when people do go and go, holy crap, this one said this and this one said this and this and this and this and this and this, rather than Joe H said, oh, Joey's Atlas was one of the most amazing experiences I ever had. It changed my life forever.
Mhm.
That means absolutely nothing.
Right. Yeah, and I think that the whole secret to that, like the framework, and I'll let anybody who's listening in on this is just having conversations with people. It's really about, and again, I'm always going to go back to the foundation of, are you working with people that you love? Because if you don't love them and you don't want to hang around them and you don't want to hear them, you just want to get on the call and get off because you promised them and all that kind of stuff, you're not engaged. You don't care about what people think or what they say. But for me, it's the opposite. For me, it's like, I wish I would do them 24/7. I'd be like, this is amazing. If I had to do, calls every single hour, I would do them with the same type of people because I'm so intrigued by not only helping them through the transformation, which has that's another area. Like my brain is going to this other area because you talked about this of the iterations of Atlas, but it's not about Atlas. It's more about like, when you're doing work and you're, like you said, engaged in it and focused on it all the time, you always learn more if that's what you love to do, but especially with the people that you're doing it with and for, that I'm always learning from them. I'm hungry for their input. I'm hungry for their knowledge and insight and feedback. It's not like I think I'm the best at doing anything. There's always something I'm learning about it or how they perceive it. So that to me is exciting. And I think that, I know that that's where those testimonials emerge from, because we're having a conversation about a specific thing. And in that case with Jeff, it was just about it was about a guarantee. And that's what emerged from that conversation about the guarantees. Like, oh yeah, you know what? I remember reading that guarantee and I kind of didn't believe it, or I just glanced over it. When I reread it, I thought, wow, you know what? He's actually true and he's not a scumbag. And I thought that's an amazing clip because you can't script that.
No, and Joey, I'm gonna
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Just a little piece here in presenting the same thing over and over again. It reminded me, I did 52 cities one year and presented the same seminar 52 times, but it was never the same. And each audience, I learned more. And you apply, you're talking to somebody and engaging them, and something you did on the 27th time or the 35th or whatever comes into your being, rather than, I did that already. I'm done with it. I don't think you can ever be done with that. And I want to read, you were just talking about this, and you share this from Dean Jackson you said you love working with people, and you shared these 5 pieces of the dream prospect and what makes them 5 stars from Dean Jackson. And they're willing to engage in dialogue. You've gone over this many times before. And like, if you simply say to someone, hey, I'd love to chat about your business, and they're like, well, I'm too busy. How much is your course? Well,
yeah, just tell me how much it is, and let me move on. I've got a billion other things going on over here, or whatever.
friendly and cooperative. Well, yeah, I kind of want to hang out with people friendly and cooperative. And the third one is they know what they want, they're willing to share. Again, if I'm going to talk to, you're going to just have conversations with people and they're sharing and opening up, and you get to learn all this cool stuff. And then, the fourth one, they're ready to act in the near future, whatever you define that as. It's like, well, yeah, I'll be ready in a year. Well, you're probably not going to spend that much time. And the last one, Joey, and I like this, the fifth one that Dean Jackson provides and you share is, do you want to help them? There are times where we're on with someone like, you know what? I don't really want to help this person. I
Yeah.
don't really like them, or they're just, again, would I want them over for the weekend where I would wake up excited to have meals with them and go hike with them and do yoga, all the things I do, or would it be like, crap, Scott's here. What am I going to do with him? And again, just tying things back into all of what you teach here, because if you run a humongous Facebook ad campaign and get all these people into your funnel, who are you ending up with at the end of the day? Maybe
Yeah.
somebody buy your thingy, or then you have to force your next thingy down their throat, or someone that's like, gosh, this is amazing. What's next? What's
Yeah.
next? How do I grow once you find somebody that life is about finding the people to help you grow. When we're young, we go to school and we get our teachers. As we get older, we go to college and get our teachers. Then we go find coaches and consultants and advisors and strategists and that to continue the journey. Again, I admire you because you and I both go get coaches and we participate in all the things we talk about in mastermind groups and in whatever, and do the things we do. And then we take time to, again, one of the things you changed immensely in one of our talks, or one of, I don't even know what, was I have to have think time, zone of genius, prayer, meditation each day. I
Yeah.
have to. That just is, if I'm not thinking, think time. And you and I are so engaged with a lot of different people and clients. If we don't have that think time, it's not going to be possible to serve them in the way we do. So go.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much there to unpack, man. Like what you said, and this think time is important. It's also, I'm learning more about, and this topic is so important, and we're not even on topic for today, but that's okay because that happens. But it's like the context switching, that I'm learning more about for myself over the last little, couple of months, and transitions and business growth like crazy. It's amazing, and I'm not complaining about it, but learning more about how to take the context of what you're doing, because I'm ADD already and I'm pretty good, and like yourself too, and we can see a lot of things happening at the same time and you switch between things, but that also tires you out too. And so I'm learning more about like staying in the lane or the context within each day, instead of going between contexts. So that's why my mornings are all the same, reading, journaling, doing whatever it is, taking things like that, creative writing, whatever. And that brain context is there rather than creating an atlas slide or something, like it's like whatever. That's a bad example because that's part of creativity. But you get where I'm going with this. So I wouldn't. The best example is that I don't coach in the morning for some reason. I don't know why, but I don't have that brain power to like help others in
Yeah.
that zone. But and I don't speak. I don't talk a lot in the morning, so I'm just very quiet and in
Yeah.
my own head. And then in the afternoon, you can't shut me up. And then for some reason, that's the context. But it's like if I went to do, if I it's like today is all coaching. And the funny thing is too is I go all day coaching till like 4 basically, and then at 4 I have to I switch a little bit of a context because then I get coached. So I
Right.
go from coaching to being coached for another hour, and then taking a break and hopefully just unplugging for a second, and then coming to this show to go back into not really coaching, but more of a outward approach, if you want to call it that. I don't even know what to say. So that's like the
Well,
same context.
I'm glad you don't know what to say, because when you don't know what to say, then maybe I will.
Okay.
But going with what you're saying, Joey, is, and I'm going to keep coming back to this, because as I watch you go deeper into how do you make what you do more efficient, more strategic, more systematized, and you figure out things, not what's the next bright and shiny object, but will that thing, it's kind of like, will this make the boat go faster?
Right.
I continually see you looking at, will this make my dream life, my dream business more efficient, more effective? Can I serve people in a higher level and be able to recall things that I need quicker to do the thing I'm always doing? Again, better, easier, faster, more efficient. Not like, okay, what's the next course or program I can build? You just, and I've watched this year as you've gotten into the how do I really structure, systematize, invest time so that you, I like what you said a couple of weeks ago, is buy back your time,
Hmm.
hiring people, things to buy back your time. And that just becomes so vital and important. And you can only do that now because you've got the rest in place. And it's the next layer and level. If you didn't have the foundation, then I don't think you'd be sitting here thinking, how do I make the processes more efficient, effective? Because you'd still be messing around with the next launch or the next
Yeah,
product or the next.
it's totally exhausting, Scott. I don't know how people do
Yeah,
it. I really don't know how they do it. And even if they don't have all of the back end stuff that I have happening, and again, I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else, but as you know, there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes in the back
yeah,
end of the business and all that. But aside from that, I'm like, I can't imagine what it would be like to build just another program or to launch another program. Like I launched Atlas now, as you know, it's coming up on Monday. But this was in parallel with the other one that's already going.
right.
And there was no worry about anything. It was like, okay,
No,
just do this again, do that again. And but I want to talk about that too because even though you have, and this is for anybody listening, that like, and what I talk about, like doing one thing again and again and again, loving that you're doing it, but not to the degree of that you get to a point where it's finished. Like it's never finished. And that might scare somebody listening to this because they want to just set it and forget it. And I'm not talking about reinventing the wheel every single time. What I'm talking about is being so jazzed and energized to work with the people that you're if just rewind the tape what we just talked about 20 minutes 10 minutes ago is I want to learn from you. Like, okay, how can I make what you said? Can I incorporate a little bit of that? Or should I take something out of my program that confused you because of this thing you just asked me, or whatever it is? You're always iterating to, it's not really making it better. I guess you could say it that. You could say it both ways. It's not, but it's just always being engaged with the product and and serving the tribe that ignites me. So that's like I think a really huge. I forgot where the hell my train of thought where it was going with this, but it's around that area of of coming to the table every single week or every single day with that energy. And oh yeah, it was about the launch, and so not worrying about okay, how am I going to launch this thing? Because you're doing habits again. You're doing repeating stuff. That's great. You can automate some things here and there, whatever. But it's not where here's what I was going to go with this. It's not like you finally finish it, you put it aside. Eventually, because it's repetitive and you're not really doing anything new to it, you get bored of it, right? And then the people can feel your energy drop, or that you're not showing up because you're like, oh my god, I got to teach this again. Here we go again, right? And even, but it's not like that for my life, even though 85% of it is now probably okay, I've taught this before, but it's always spoken about differently because of the engagement of the audience, and the audience changes all these things, which makes it new every single time, which I think
but
is so
yeah,
exciting.
it is, Joey. And also, you're at a completely different place every single time that you present it. And again, you just were doing chain of beliefs for the past few weeks. The next time you do it, you're going to take what you did the past couple of weeks here and implement it into there.
Yeah.
And uh, uh, we talked last year that we were going to do right marketing copy together, and we threw something together and we put it out there. And we had a conversation like, well, okay, we'll do it again in February or March or something.
Yeah.
And then it came to, you know what, it didn't make sense for either one of us at the time. And you were like, it was almost, even though it's your program, you've done it before, you were so focused and in your lane that it was, and I'm addressing this because there's people out there listening who probably say, well, I got these couple of programs. Can I run them both? And I don't really think you can after watching the experience and going through it with you. It'd be like, you know what, bro? Focus on Atlas and Academy and all of the things here. Yeah, right marketing copy is great. It's important. It was your umbo, and it was kind of that, the impetus.
Yeah.
But at point, it was like almost, yeah, teaching too many things at the
It's
same
a
time.
distraction. Like, that's the whole point.
Yeah,
That's
yep,
the whole point of it, is like you saw just in the time that we were doing the offers together, all the
right.
time put into it. And we weren't even talking about automations yet or launches or videos, nothing, none of that. just, and just doing things the right way, in my opinion, with
Yeah,
segmentations of the audiences and talking to people different ways instead of just blasting an offer out. And people, I understand that anybody listening to this and are coming from the world of just just blasting things, or it's all vanilla all the way across, everybody's the same and all that. And then you kind of hear me do something, or you watch and like, oh my god, that. Or when you were talking about the message navigator, or when we were talking about having 20 conversations all with different individual conversations at the top level, that feels like it's a lot of work. Like, holy crap, how could you be doing all of that when it's not? Is there an intensity involved? Yes, but I've created a process that makes it easier. Everything's easier when you can document anything, right? Doesn't matter. And so rather than looking like everybody else, and now this is a whole other topic, but I think it's important, is that you put time and energy, you're going to put time and energy into something. And you've addressed it a couple of times already on this call alone, of knowing, keeping track of what people say. And that's part of what I focus on, is I want to have a conversation and acknowledge what we talked about, even though it's not like you can't be this encyclopedia or this recorder and remember every single thing. But I think it's important. And if you only have to do that with a small amount of people every 3 months or so, you're going to get a lot of great engagement. You're going to get a lot of people who look at you differently and just, yeah, things happen differently. So it's not about energy putting into trying getting people into a funnel and trying to convert them and getting them on calls and trying to convert cold people and all that. You're still putting in the same amount of energy, but why not put it into, in my opinionated view, is building that relationship and waiting for them to make a decision later on on their timeline, whether they do or don't. Like, it's totally up to them. It's the same thing as, I wrote a post yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, about the whole paying for ads and all that kind of thing. I don't know if you saw that when I did a little bit of math. So there's one piece of math that I forgot to put in there,
but
which is not.
Joey, you're good at math.
I am. I'm getting great at math.
I
But
know. Okay,
it was
continue.
like, and I went to sleep thinking about it, because I actually responded to a thing in Kajabi about it, and I think Brian, one of my friends in there, said, "And what about the cost of it?" I'm like, "Oh my god, I forgot about the cost, which is so important." But I'll run down the number real quick, because it was like, well, let's run ads to a webinar and do all that and sell some products, right? And I was in that boat. Like, I used to do that stuff. That I don't know how many tens of thousands of dollars I spent doing that stuff. And there is a place for it. There is. You could make money and all that stuff. But it was like, okay, so you're going to, and I'll use quick numbers for what I can remember. You have this product for like $197, and you want to make 10 grand. And that would mean you need like 51 people to do it. Like, you got to sell 51 of those. And and then I just did quick numbers on the math. For I think that was like a 10%, no, a 5% conversion rate or whatever it was on that. But you need like if 50 people show up to the 50% of the people show up to the webinar, how the hell was it now? I got to remember this now. No, you need 1,000. Okay, so to get 51 people, you need at a 5% conversion rate, you need 1,000 people, right, on the webinar.
Right.
And
On the webinar.
to see the offer. Yeah, to see the offer on the webinar, to see the offer.
Right.
I think that's right. So it's 1,000 people at a 5% conversion rate. Can you do the math while I'm?
Well, 1,000 people to 5% conversion rate is 50 people.
There you go. Okay, so it's 50 people, 5% conversion rate. You need 1,000 people to show up. Now, if you did the math and you said, okay, well, how much I need 1,000 people to come to the webinar, that means that we're not talking about registration yet. And let's say you have 50% registration, which is great, right? It's great. That means you need 2,000 people to register.
Yeah.
Okay, that's talking about the Facebook ads. And I didn't even go into the depth of, well, how many people do need to see the ad? This is the people clicking on the ad. 2,000 clicks to come through. Okay, we're talking about 2,000 clicks on your ad. So I didn't even go into the depth of how many impressions, how many people need to see the ad to get to 2,000 people. Okay, so now everybody with me, right? 2,000 people click on the ad, 50% of them actually register, which is astronomical as it is, and then a 5% buy, which is astronomical as it is. Now you've got your $10,000, right? Fantastic. But what I forgot about was what Brian said. He goes, what about the cost of the ad? I'm like, oh my God, that's like huge, because let's say you did an astronomical thing of $1 a click.
Yeah.
$1 a click. Yeah. You're spending $2,000 already just to get people in. Yeah, you've made $10,000. Fantastic. So you're up there. But think about that. Do you have the $10,000 or $2,000 to pay per click? Or sorry, that's just per click. We're not talking about anything else. Right. So I mean, this is where it all, for me, it was like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't want to play with these numbers. I'd rather just worry about getting 2 or 3 people, 2 to 5 people who are in my world as it is, and charge $1,000 and get 5 people as opposed to trying to get 2,000 people.
Well, and Joey, I'm just going to add a few costs to your math. Is now you got to have the cost of the person to create your ads and your copy, and you got to have the cost of the agency that does your Facebook thing, or you've got to go spend 2 years learning how to do Facebook ads, or take somebody's course, or go through the multitudes of people and courses and YouTube videos to try and figure out how to do it yourself. And by then, all the algorithms have changed anyway. And so all of that time, effort, and energy to be like, well, what's it doing today as opposed to the way? And then again, let's take in another piece, the aftermath of, so you get those 2,000 and 1,000 register, which never happened. And 5% buy, which isn't going to happen. And so you make your 10,000 and you got your $3,000 that you spent, which it actually cost you more than that because you had to pay the dude or the dudette to do all that crap for you. And then what about servicing? And now you got to spend time, effort, and energy to take care of all of those things and potential refunds and that. And I watched a former client do it over and over again. He would do webinars and be like, yeah, I made 10 grand. I made 12 grand. I made, and then he'd have nothing. But then I looked at everything. I didn't want him doing. When I finally looked at it, he was not making any money by the time he finished paying.
Exactly.
And the this and the percentages and the this and his team. And so in the end, it was like he just had to do the next one to keep up above so we could get to the next one and the next one. But the public saw, oh my God, look at these webinars and all these people and all the money you made. But
it's behind the scenes that we don't know what happens. And I got to see you, Lorna. Hopefully your mom's okay. Just visiting your mom in the hospital. Hopefully she's okay.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it was, I made a mistake there. So just to go back to the number, it's 1,000 people register, and then 50% of those people who register show up to the webinar. So only 500 people are on the webinar. That's still pretty darn good, 500 people. But I'm giving like astronomical numbers, like 50, 50, 50, and that rarely happens. And even if all that happened and it was a magical thing, you'd have all these costs involved to do the thing in the first place. And like you said, you're always catching up. To me, it's just too hard to play, and it's a cold audience. You got to convince them on the webinar who you are, why they should buy from you. So you're expecting a cold audience to just click an ad, register for a webinar, show up, and give you money. Like that's
Right.
what they teach you out there. Here's
Yeah.
all you got to do. And
Yeah.
it's like,
All
okay, do people do it? Yeah, there's a couple of outliers out there who do it, but it ain't that easy. So I'd
no.
rather spend my time worrying, like building a tribe, bringing two or three people or five people into a into a group or something, and talking with amongst them, and spending my time there learning. Like, is there something that is a pattern here that I could teach you that I know really really well, that I could help you move the needle in your life and your business, rather than trying to sell somebody cold. Anyway,
And
whew,
you know what, Joey? If there's anybody watching that's like, but I want to run funnels and I want to do webinars and I want to do all of the things and I want to do the self-liquidating offers and the upsells and I want to do the after webinar cleanup sequence and the cart's closing and I know that 50% will buy when the cart closes at midnight and 50 to, and I want to go through all that. I want to do the launch for, and I want to try all of these things. Do it. Go for it. If
yeah,
that's what you want to do. Because you know what? Yeah. Are there people out there making money with sales funnels, with lead magnets, tripwires, and upsells and order bumps? Yes. Are there people out there sending out emails with offers all the time and selling stuff? Yes. Is that the way you want to live your life? If the answer is yes, go for it. I understand it. Joey, you understand it. We've done that, been there. And it's just so much easier to service a group of people you love and engage with them in the way you want to and help them watch them transform and provide them value. It's just such an easier way to do business online. And it's possible. Is it possible to throttle people? Uh-huh. I don't want to do it. It's just not fun or comfortable.
no, it's hard, and that's why we're talking about this now. Running another iteration of Atlas or the cohort and getting set up and putting just getting ready for it. It's really,
Yeah.
I mean, the hardest part about this, anybody listening to this that wants to do the same type of methodology or the same type of cohorts, or I guess method of doing things, is as long as, again, I don't know how other way to say that without working with the right people or people that light you up. The only thing that you really have to do is show up and serve. Like I can't say how not only enlightening that is, but how easy it is. And I don't want it to sound the wrong way. It becomes easy because it's something that you're so good at that you get now paid for it. This is the whole thing that everybody likes to sell. Get paid for what you love to do. But this is something I've never experienced in all of my years in business, especially online, in the last decade or whatever it's been. I've never experienced this level of not only success, but the success I believe comes from the feelings that I get from from having the audience of the who's. I think it's always going to come down to that. And because it's so simple for you, all you're doing is looking at what tweak can I make to this. That's all. That's all. I mean, now that I'm thinking about this, Scott, if you look at Apple and you look at all of their computers and all these things, like, I'm an Apple geek as it is. And my wife, thankfully, she just got me a brand new laptop. So thank you, D, for that. But during my looking at which one do I want to buy, they're all the same basically, right? And I'm bringing this up for a reason, because Apple does this. They make little tweaks to things that seem like, what did they do? Like it's exactly the same thing, but it's not. They listen to the audience and they're like, okay, I'm going to do this, and then you always get at the beginning of the beginning of the launch series or something like, It's exactly the same as it was last year. Here's what it did. And then a couple months later, you see YouTube videos of people saying, here's my impression of using this for the last 6 months. And they'll talk about the nuances that are just so subtle that they appreciate now by using it. Right. But it's the beginning of like, oh, they didn't do anything. The color's the same or the thing. And that's what I was looking at going, okay, well, what's happening here? And so I guess it's the same parallel of what we're doing is this is the same thing again and again and again. Or as you know, when somebody comes into Atlas or they're like, well, I've heard that before. Well, yeah, you may have heard it before, but you haven't heard it in this perspective or in adjacent to these other things. And that's
That's
key.
that's key and huge right there. Is adjacent to these other things. You may have heard that thing, but now you're hearing with this. And Joey, when I was traveling all over and presenting, one of the programs that I did the same program over and over again. I told you about the other one, 52 cities, but this was a different one in the beginning. And it was so important for me to read the evaluations because the evaluations, and that's what you do now.
Oh yeah.
I would read the evaluations afterwards, and I'd look at the scores, and then I'd look at the comments, and I'd want to know, okay, what do I need to do to make the product better, the program better? And that's what you keep doing is the same thing because like before the call today you were talking about somebody that pointed something out that nobody had ever really pointed out before because there's so many different levels of what we do in depths. That doesn't mean that everybody gets to every nook and cranny, and then one day somebody ventures off into a place that sparks something that turns into something, and the only reason that happened was because you've stayed the course. Go.
Yeah. I want to come back to that in a second. I just want to give shout out to Adrian. Thanks for letting us know that you're here, and thank you for being here because I know you show up to these every week pretty much. So thank you for being
Yep.
here, and thank you for allowing us into your world. Um, I think that when you talk about, like you said, Scott, like staying in your lane and doing the thing over and over again, um, you just, I find you just become, I'll use the word like expert in another level. Like your expertise goes beyond the word, like the surface level expert. You're so engaged in it and you're being asked or challenged or feedback or questions, all these things in so many different ways about the same thing. And it challenges you to, at least this is for me, I don't know about you or anyone else, but it challenges you to come up with different ways to explain the thing or to get it across to somebody so they make the breakthrough. And again, I'm going to say it again. The only reason we do that is because we truly want to transform the person. It's not about, let me get by this hour so I can just go on with my life. Like, it's not about that. It's like, no, I want to get this through to this person because it's important. And if they're not hearing it this way, then they got to hear it another way. And it's also teaching us that maybe this needs to be explained in a different way. So you're always getting better. I think that it's this circle of I'll steal from like Jeff Walker, this circle of awesomeness
Yeah.
in a different way. Like it's just so awesome because you're teaching somebody, they ask you a question, you're learning how to explain it in a different way, and then they get a breakthrough and you're like, wow, that actually worked. That's amazing. And everyone feels this great dopamine rush.
That's the huge part of this is you're out there pushing the envelope all the time. And I like to talk about Robin Williams. He's one of my favorites. And that what was so genius about him was in acting school they let him go. They let him go out there where he went so far out, and then they'd say, okay, Robin, you've gone far enough, now let's take that energy and bring it back here. And a
Hmm.
lot of times you and I do that, whether it's live or whether we're playing, is we just go crazy places. And then it might spark something cool as we do that. But again, I'll go back to when you're focusing in your lane and going deeper and deeper, recently it's just as I go deeper into how I'm engaging with people is it more to a much deeper intuitive, emotional, spiritual level than I have ever before. And that's the dream clients. They're the ones that need that type
Yep.
of. And so it's only because of the continued focus on who do I want to serve? How do I want to serve? And obviously that's Kali,
Yep.
send love to and for your mom and you, Lorna, and saying prayers for your courage, strength, and serenity through this time to continue. Love and soul hugs, Kali. Yeah.
There's something else there, Scott, that you were talking about that I wanted to bring up too. Is when you do this like this and you're focused again and again, and you're getting these questions or different ways or different insights and everything from your tribe. Where I was going with this about the expertise is for something you talked about at the top, which was curation. Okay, and your audience changes over time. At least this has been my experience with Atlas. It's just not the audience doesn't change, but it's the beginning audiences are not truly, I think, your dream clients. Like they are, but they're not. They're like family. They're already there. They're like kind of, that's why it's easy to do, for me, in my opinion, it's easy to start like an Atlas type of program because it's people who already love and trust you and like, give me a break here. Like, can you help me out and you help me out, right? So it's like one hand washes the other. Would you agree? Like it's those people first?
Well, you built a tribe, you served them. So yes, I totally agree with you.
So it's not
It,
like, they're not like cold people. It's not like they already know you. So
no,
you don't have to really convince them. You might, and that's the whole idea. So at least that was for me, Scott. The first two were like that. It was like this is great, but they weren't. I can't really call this a hit yet.
right, exactly. Yep. Yeah.
So, but now after like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and seeing the transformations of absolutely complete strangers with different challenges coming in, your level. I think this maybe actually goes to the topic we were supposed to talk about today, which is imposter syndrome.
We
You
had a
over
topic tonight? Really?
We did. I even have slides ready to go. Like, it's like
Really?
look,
Congratulations.
look,
I'm
I
so
I
proud
have
of
my
you.
slides ready to go.
Wow. Beautiful. Look at the colors and organization and structure.
Look at that. So
I
that was what we're supposed to talk about. We'll do it next time.
That's a
Um,
beautiful slide color
but
combination,
like this is
Joey.
where this is where it comes from. It's like you have this imposter syndrome, but then you get a different level of expertise, knowledge, sharing or helping people through their challenges and getting transformation, and your level of expertise goes up because of that. And that's what I mean. That's where the imposter syndrome really is. I don't have any imposter syndrome whatsoever when it comes to this. Like you can ask me anything you want about dream clients or anything or niching down and that kind of things, and I pretty much am the master. I am confident that I can answer any question you throw at me. I might have to think about one or two of them if you really throw a loop, but I got it, right?
I,
And
okay.
I only got there because of doing it. But that's not the point of this. The point is this: the curation. Now, people coming into my world, I'm way more aware of, can I truly help this person based on what they're telling me, based on what they're asking me, because it is always a risk for both of us, right? Like, should this person come in and can I deliver on the promise that I'm telling this person? Because go figure, we actually do give a crap, right? About helping people and about getting the transformation. Go figure.
Go figure. Okay,
So,
Joey. Few
okay, go
things.
ahead.
I'll let you take a breath here because you there was a lot there that I kind of want a culmination of unpacking this here. When you were talking about the level of expertise with Dream Client, and I've watched this, and I watched you go from starting to talk about it to formulating it to building all the frameworks and the structure and implementing it. And then you starting to present it to the Kajabi group and going through and having people live. and transforming them, and then doing it again and again and again. And yes, you've learned how to talk about it in every way, shape, or form and back into it, because it all comes back to dream clients. And I like the word honed. I believe that what's happening is that knowledge, that wisdom, that insight is being honed, it's being sharpened as you go through all these different iterations and experiences and people. And yeah, there is nobody that can talk about dream clients the way you do. And you're exactly right. As you finished it off, in the beginning, when you define everything and you know your dream clients and you've got everything, and they start to come towards you, it is a risk. Can I really help them? And over time you find out, you know what, I can help this exact person. And now here's the characteristics, here's the
Right.
language,
Right.
everything. But it doesn't happen until, again, I've watched many iterations where we're on and you like somebody just said this and that became the voice of the dream client or part of the voice. And that only, you said this many times, is you have conversations with people who say, how did you know that's exactly what was going on in my world? Why?
Right.
Because you live in it, you spend time in it, you bask in it, and again, you love it so much. I loved so much presenting what I did and then learning, how do I improve it? How do I make the next one even better, more over the top, and an even more phenomenal experience? And well, maybe I should play with this piece and that, and the music and the food and the breaks and the what. But you couldn't do that. One day I was at a Marriott somewhere, and they were like, we were talking about selling and marketing, and they're like, well, what are the clients really saying? I was like, hold on. I walked next door to another meeting room and said, you know, who runs this? I'm running it. Great. Would you come over and answer some questions? I couldn't have gotten to that level of depth unless I was so comfortable in what I was doing to go do that. And I think what a lot of what we're talking about tonight is, I'll go full circle back to where I started this topic, which was, I don't know what the topic was, but it was about the staying in your lane and the consistency of watching what you've done, you walking the talk, talking the talk, and helping people and transforming them and loving what you do. And it shows in all the meta stuff.
Yeah. Thank you. We were going to talk a little bit more about overcoming imposter syndrome here, but we got into a really great discussion that's not over yet. But because this is I think part of the imposter syndrome thing. I want to give shout out to here to Adrian, who says creating dialectical relationships where all parties are being authentically elevated in awareness, consciousness, skill, etc. Yes, it is all about that, the relationships, connecting with people, making sure that you are doing 100% of your job to transform the people. And this is where I wanted to go with this. So thank you for bringing this up, Adrian, because one of my team members are asking about like the atlas, like how many people come in, what's the averages, what's happening, and it's not like astronomical. Like, first of all, you don't need a lot of people. You don't need a lot of people. But I'm like, she's like, should there be more coming in at this point? Like, it's been 3 years. And I go, no, it's not. That's not the whole idea of this, first of all. And I'm at the point, and I read, and I talked about this before, where Ryan Holiday's book, what's it called? Anyway, I just read it a couple of months ago. Forget the book. I'm gonna have to look it up because it's gonna bother me, and I don't want to leave an open loop. But anyway, the point of it was about this. It was about stepping into your zone of genius, doing it again and again and again, for sometimes years at a time. That you don't really see the breakthrough of success until years later. But so many people give up. So many people give up on even before this point, right, Scott? Like, they wouldn't be 3 years in doing one thing. They wouldn't be 1 year in doing one thing. And so I know that this is just on the cusp of the breakthrough of like, holy crap, now there's like, you know, hundreds of people coming in every cohort or something like that. And I think this goes back to, there's so many things that this relates to. One, the ads. Two, the structure and all the stuff going behind the scenes. Because could you imagine if all of a sudden the thing took off? And we've talked about this before. And I'm talking about like home run after home run, like huge things where we've talked about it before. And I believe that one of the biggest things, and I've seen this, that crushes businesses and why they fail is because they grow too fast. It's not because they don't have customers. It's because they grow too fast and they don't have the infrastructure to handle it. So to me, a slow growth is key because you're learning to piece together all the things for when that hockey stick moment happens, you're prepared, you're ready to go. And that's what Ryan is talking about. Go, Scott, because I'm going to look for this as you have a rebuttal or you have some input.
So piece together all the things. I want to jump on that for a minute, Joey, because as you're building Atlas, the frameworks and the systems and the structure and all the pieces that you then have to test and go back and look and say, did this structure work and did this work? And there's so much in that to have to do that with multiple things and say, okay, let me go play with this piece of it. Let me look at the messaging here, or let me look at the tagging and how maybe I should do something a little different with how I treat these people as they come in to my world this way, rather than each one is a little bit of a different tweak. And again, it goes back to, yeah, marketing works, advertising works, but
Yeah.
which part it does, whatever that's saying, department store person, 50% of it all works, but I just wish I knew which 50%.
Which 50% worked.
You know, Joey, one of the things is like I remember the first time I saw Wayne Dyer speak at Florida International University, and he was just getting going, and he was packing up his station wagon and driving to bookstores and begging people to put his books in.
Yeah.
And I remember a few years later, I just started traveling all over the country, and I would speak anywhere. I didn't care who, what. I would speak at any, within my niche. And it took me doing that for a couple of years before the big boys said, huh, we should hire you. I didn't walk out and say, hey, big boys, hire me. It was like, we've heard about you. We've seen you. We've heard from this one, this one, this one, this one. And it was always the same thing. It wasn't like you spoke about this thing. I was specific in my niche to help my niche accomplish this situation because they had this problem. You call it the crisis and the oasis. I knew what that was, and I was able to deliver to the industry until the tops in the industry said, we want it. But it didn't happen right out of the gate, and it's because it was focus of I stayed in my lane. That's who I was and what I did. So this has been an interesting topic on imposter syndrome this evening, Joey. I've enjoyed it.
The book, by the way.
Those of you that are watching live, hashtag live. Those on the replay, hashtag replay. These are all posted. They're watched. If you comment, there will be a reply. Somebody will. Joey will. I will. Again, and I'm sure Joey posted the link. If you don't belong to the Heart-Centered Marketing Club, you need to meander over there. I don't get to use that word. Meander over your way through the interweb thingy.
There's the link again.
Community of people who will support you in your journey on this heart-centered entrepreneurship journey, where Joey's in there every day, posting value and answering questions and supporting, and an amazing community of people who support each other, which is the amazing piece that was also built in this whole thing, that you should just go in and learn how should you run a Facebook group in a tribe that serves the tribe properly without spam and promotion and all that crappity crap. So there's the commercial I'm done with for this evening.
Back to our regular scheduling program.
Scheduled program.
The book, by the way, is Perennial Seller by Ryan Holiday. It's an excellent book, and I'm just scrolling through some of the notes here, and one of the notes comes back to, like, we'll talk about ads for a second too. He says advertising can add fuel to the fire, but rarely is it sufficient to start one, which is what I'm talking about when it comes to ads. And I'll just come back to my certain situation now where I'm at a point where I could easily run ads to bring people into my world so that I can eventually have them and curate them into Atlas. Like, I'm totally confident in doing all that now, and that's
Yeah.
cool. And I can add
Yeah.
fuel to the fire, but it's not to
Right.
start the game. And that's the huge thing. So the way that I say it is like, ads are meant to amplify what's already working, not to try and start the thing going. It's not a Kickstarter. So that's one thing. And I just wanted to address some things that,
Joey,
yes,
Joey, ads are meant to enhance what's already working. I just wanted to say that again because that is such a huge piece. When you figure it out, when you've tested and tweaked and that, and you know what works and how and this and everything, then run ads to it. Then
right,
start playing that game.
right,
But to try and figure everything out, you figured it out on your dream clients, warm traffic, whatever we want to call it, but it's
right.
dream client. And now you could seriously go out there and say, hey, here's who I'm looking for. Come start the journey with me through my process.
Let me, man, there's so many good things about this conversation. Look at what you just said. And I want everyone to hear this because it's so important that when, how many times, Scott, have you seen someone in a thread or in a group asking about, here's what I'm thinking of putting in an ad. What do you guys think?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
All the time.
Constantly. And
Yep.
it's great to have feedback from from other people, but we both know that, well, the audience is going to tell you whether it's good or not. Okay,
Right.
we both know that. So yes,
Yeah.
you could spend money and test and do all kinds of things because for everything that we don't do, like, that I don't do or you don't do, there is somebody else who's crushing it in that area. There's always somebody doing really well in anything. But what I found is, rather, because I was down that road, is like, let me figure out what is the right message to say. Here's a secret that I talk about in Atlas, and I'll share with everybody, is that when you're talking with your audience over and over again like this, and you get the same type of questions or the same type of answers, your dream clients are pinpointing what is great about your program and what they are confused about. So when you ask, they're talking about, I loved the message navigator, or I loved this part of it, this is really great, this helped me, then doesn't it stand to reason that other dream clients out there in the world are going to think the same thing if you put that out into the world? Okay, so it's again focusing on the smaller audience to get the data that you need, that automatically makes everything in the future so much easier. If you challenged me today to go out and create, what, 2 campaigns, 5 different campaigns of Facebook ads for all different kinds of different lead magnets, let's say, don't you think I could easily do that, Scott? Like, I know exactly what I would put out because
Yeah.
I know what inside Atlas they're like raving about, and they're going, well, if Scott liked that, then other people like that are going to like the same thing, and that's all I want anyway, are people
Yeah.
who like that. So it stands to reason that you focus all your energy on these people getting, and they're telling you, they're giving you the gold. This is what I don't know if it lands enough, that we're saying these things enough, like, go do a beta, go do small groups, like, that's all great. But it's like, do you really understand? And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not pointing any fingers here because I'm the one learning all this stuff. Wait a minute, this is truly what's happening here. Because I never have to really think about what am I gonna put on a Facebook ad, or what am I going to, I don't know, talk about in an academy today it's just whatever. It's just always about, how do I get more dream clients in? Well, let's talk about the stuff that the current dream clients already love.
Yep. Yep. It's not
Right?
rocket science. It's really not. It's just delivering what they're asking for. Yeah, you could run an ad right now and probably play with something, avatar versus dream client or something like that. And you could easily run an ad, get people to click on it. blah, and then you're off. But
Yeah,
that's
but then the right dream client would opt in. The right dream client, because the other one's like, yeah, you're full of crap. You don't know what you're talking about. Great. Then that's fantastic, because guess what? That's part of the chain of beliefs, right? My whole, if you don't believe this, there's no reason for you to opt in.
exactly.
Adrian says, courage is a calling. Stillness is the key. I forget what we were talking about because this was a little while ago.
Those are Ryan Holiday's books.
Oh, right. Oh, I should have saw that. No. So thank you but those are great books too. I haven't read Stillness is the Key though. The other one, Courage, I have. Those are great. Uh, Discipline is Destiny. Because they're all Ryan Holiday's books. Okay, great. Okay. No, okay. It's Perennial Seller. That's the one you want, Perennial Seller. So what he talks about in Perennial Seller, and I was trying to look from some of the notes, but there's just too many here, of basically putting in the work that you need to put in, day out, that nobody else is going to do, that eventually it's kind of like, the whole 10,000 hour thing, but in a different way, that you gain success and you see success and you think that, is this it? And it's not. And some people give up at that point. Like, that's why the book opened my eyes, because it was like, I could look at it. And that's why when I was challenged from my teammate, and I'm like, no, this is not it. It's really good. It's very successful. I can transform. I have all the things in place. Should there be more people coming in every single quarter? Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe it's not the right time yet. Maybe there's things that still need to be tweaked, and I'm okay with that. So I'd rather not have a business take off, because I've seen so many businesses and I've had coaching clients with that thing happen. It just explodes overnight and they weren't prepared. And I'm like, that's the problem. You don't have all these things in place. And then they try and scramble to bring in teams or this and that, and it just falls apart. So I like the slow and steady progress to be prepared for it. Right? Imagine all the stuff that if I wasn't working with Notion behind the scenes and all that, and all these things took off now, where would I have been today? I would have been scrambling.
Yeah.
Like, how am I supposed to handle all this? There's just no way.
So, Joey, how does somebody embrace that mindset that you just shared? Because I believe that the majority of people are like, okay, this thing is working, faster, add more fuel to the fire. Let's go. Bigger, more, that. Oh, I got a team now. Good. Okay, team, let's go. How do you take away that ferocity, that desire to want to engage faster and turn the treadmill up to the fastest speed when we probably still should be plodding along for a while longer?
Well, it's an open question, because I can come at it from two different perspectives or angles, which is, are you talking about my dream clients? Because there's a different answer for that. Because if it was my dream clients in an Atlas situation, like you've seen this before, like, how do I scale this thing? How do I do this? And you've seen me slow them all down, right? Then what does it come down to? The answer is, well, what does your life look like? How do you want to do this? Like, how much time do you have to do all this? And what does your life look like? So I'm always bringing it back to them, and they'll say, well, X, Y, Z, or I'm still got a job, or I've got 2 other products going on, or I'm doing this. I'm like, slow down. Then how do you expect to add all these other pieces? Well, I'll just add a team member. Really? Who's going to train the team member? Or are you going to just let somebody else take it? And then I explain the whole head and the hands idea. So it all is specific about coming back to how much time do you actually have to grow the business, and do you have the structure in place? Just 10 minutes ago, like what we were talking about. Do you have the structure and the mindset and all these things to put this in place? And if you don't, then you need to slow down. And so I'll stop there, because you might have something to add to that, because I do have another thing to add.
Well, add to that. What is the that? The that of this evening has gone far and wide and deep in many different directions. So, no, I don't necessarily. There's been so much amazing insight here this evening in really just building a business deep and wide. And it goes to, you hear me talk about Blue Oceans, the book, and why would we swim in a bloody red ocean of funnel launches and throttle marketing when we could kind of hang out and swim in a blue ocean and kind of bring our own little fishies in and build our tribe. That to me is what it's all about.
Yeah, and I'm going to get to Jeffrey's question here in 1 second, Jeffrey. So to add to this, what I was going to say is like, so somebody might say, that's fantastic, but I want to bring in revenue. I want to bring in more revenue because of XYZ, and they just want a great life. And I get that. There's nothing wrong with having a healthy business. I'm all for it. And so that's where the dream clients come in, right? It's always back to that. It's like, well, why are you going to sell a $97 product when you can sell a $970 product or a $2,000 product? And that is where everything changes, because it's like, well, now you don't have to scale as fast to bring in hundreds and thousands of people. You only need a couple of them. And then it might
Right.
come back to a mindset. Well, I'm not that, I can't charge that much or whatever. And we're back to imposter syndrome. We're back to a mindset. And this is all the loop that happens inside of Atlas every single cohort, which is fantastic for me because this is all I talk about. It's everything that I've overcome. It's something that I know that I can get people past, and I'm willing to stick through it until they get that piece of it, so I can make their lives easier. And like you said, save their lives from all of
Yep.
that chaos that they could be throwing themselves into to try and scale faster to eventually make more money and have a better life. But why don't we just slow down, work with amazing people who are willing to pay you more? Because it's not just about somebody paying you more. It's about everything else that goes along with it. And you know as well as I do that I always talk about, let me show you how to actually have a business that you could turn on and off like a faucet.
Hmm.
And to me, that's amazing. That's not grandiose. It's not, I'm better than anybody else. Look at me, how much money I can make if I do this. No, it's, you know what? I'm ready to actually do another thing here. Let's turn the thing on and not worry about setting it all up and all these other things again. And let's just turn on the invites and let's get some people in and let's just go do this thing again.
And again, Joey, because you've done this 10 times and because you're a geek and a system, structure, organization, and your mind is always figuring out how do I do it easier, better, simpler, so that I can teach other people how to do it easier, simpler, better. It just keeps deepening, and that can't happen unless you're doing it the way
Right.
you're doing. And Jeffrey says, also, what I liked about Joey is that he didn't try to upsell me when I had not even experienced anything about what he does and what he could do for me in the space I am currently in. And he made sure I was ready for what he had to offer. Just a thought.
Oh man, thank you. That that just makes my heart smile. Thank you for saying that, Jeffrey. It really, that's what Atlas is all about. Like if anybody's reading this, and I don't want to make it a commercial for it, but that's basically what it is. Respecting people. Is it right for them? Can you help them? They never feel pressured, and everything just happens to work out. It's just, yeah. So thank you for that,
Joey,
Jeffrey.
Joey, the way you embrace people and guide them on the journey you take them on is the way it should be done, in that you don't sell anybody anything. You don't troll and use DM bots to bring people into a thingy so that you could get them on a Clarity Discovery call and sell them into a program thingy that you make your money on and rinse and repeat. No, you are about transforming people's lives, saving their lives, so that they can truly have what you just talked about tonight,
Yeah.
the business you can turn on and off. And it it is a, I'll go way back to the beginning of, it takes effort and energy and investment of time to do this stuff. It's not automatic, and anything out there, you and I have seen most of it. And I'm not going to use AI to write my copy, even though everybody's saying it's the next greatest thing. Uh, I need to talk the language of the people that we know and understand. And
Yeah.
I don't think
And,
there's any way to artificially do that. Go.
no, I mean, we talked about a little bit about this today too, and somebody asked me about AI, and I'll answer that my thought about this in a second. There's so many, man. We could like go on for hours here. This is so great, but I did want to share. I just put up a slide here. We're going to go through these slides next week. We'll do that. But I do want to share this from Seth Godin. And he says that imposter syndrome is a sign that you're healthy and doing important work. And I love that quote from him. It is so brilliant because if you do have imposter syndrome, then just remember this quote. Every time I go through it, I'm like, no, this is a sign that I'm doing amazing work. Because imposter syndrome, it's kind of like, when you've heard the actors or a speaker goes on stage and they throw up before they go on stage every single time. It's not because they're scared. It's because they want to do such a great job. And they're so, they're just so engaged and like, I want to deliver the best thing I can. So they have this nervous energy. It's not about being scared about doing it. It's I just want to go out and serve to the best of my ability. And that's what imposter syndrome is. It's like, I want to serve. If you have it, you're worried about delivering to a degree of not being judged, but it's that you're breaking through barriers. And you're like, you're changing things when you're an imposter. If you think you're an imposter, you're changing the paradigm. You're changing the game.
I believe that the more time you spend courageously entering in your zone of genius, the more the imposter visits.
Yeah. There was something else that I wanted to talk. Oh yeah, the AI. Just for a second on the AI. Somebody asked me today on Academy about what I thought on AI, and I've been playing around with it. And I think that like for the creative part, it's funny because if you really think about it, it was Alex Hormozy who brought this to my attention around how AI was supposed to come into this world, right? And everybody was saying, well, AI is going to replace jobs and robotics and all these things and whatever. And the creative side and everything, we're good because all of it, AI is just like this thing. And it's the other way around. It came into this world on the creative side. And it's kind of weird because like, okay, well, I'll paint this for you. You tell me what to paint and whatever it is. And so the way that I look at it now and playing with it is that it's not being creative for me in a way. It could be, but it's more of it's taking the job of a couple of humans off of my plate. I'll give you an example of this is just summarizing data, where that's kind of a creative process, right? If I hired someone to read through my scripts or read through the transcript of this show or something and say, just summarize this in 2 paragraphs and tell me what we talked about, that's a creative process that AI now is taking care of, which I like. I like that. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to hire that out and all these other hours of people going through it. The AI will take your input, what you did, what you spoke about, and summarize it. What are your thoughts on that?
I haven't played with it enough to come to a conclusion on that. I like the way it sounds to use AI to plug into your thoughts, not to find somebody else's thoughts and make them my own.
Yeah, and the other way, like I've used it, is because Notion has it, and it's really great because then I think AI for what it is right now in this way it's a starter for people who don't know how to write. We'll just use it for copy. Let's say for people who don't know how to write, it's a starter point where you could say, even today, as a matter of fact, today, I think I still have it for today's show. I did that. I said, brainstorm ideas on imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm trying to get where it was again. So I did that for the show. Where is it here? And it came up with practice self-compassion and remind yourself of your accomplishments. Surround yourself with supportive and encouraging people. Seek out to mentor or accountability partner to provide guidance and feedback. Take steps to address any knowledge or skill gaps through training or education. Blah, blah, blah. A couple more, right? So that's just one iteration of it. It kind of just, here's some ideas to brainstorm. And now I could take that and reorganize those or come up with other ideas that, or it sparks some ideas for me maybe to talk about.
Hmm.
But I didn't say, write me the show,
Right.
which I could
Well,
have, but yeah,
yes, you could have, and I like how you used it. And I remember I had Jarvis write something, and it took me longer to fix it
to edit it.
to edit it myself.
Yeah.
And I started to play with this other one. It just hasn't, there hasn't been a piece of it that got me excited enough to say, let me go play with it. It could very well happen here. I'm playing with copy and scripts and that. I might jump into it. I don't know.
I was testing the other day because I wrote a couple things and I wrote a couple. And there was what I wanted to do was test like one paragraph or two. so so I wrote it and then I said, improve the writing. So it improved the writing, like moved a couple things around. I go, that's pretty cool. And then a couple of other ones, it didn't do anything. It just basically validated that it was a good paragraph. I'm like, this is cool. So I got a dopamine rush from like a robot. I'm like, all right, you can't fix my.
All right, yeah.
And then the other one's like, move this around. I go, oh, that's right. That's a better way of saying it. So I'm kind of having a game with it. It's kind of cool.
Well, we'll see. I'll let you play with it and report back to us, John.
Definitely. All right. This has been a long hour,
We're at the top of the hour.
but an interesting hour, as
Yeah.
always. Any final thoughts?
Show up. That's my final thought. Show up. Serve. That's it for tonight. That's what you got at the end.
Easy one.
Yeah.
Yeah, show up and serve. So yeah, that's it. I think that next week what we'll do is we'll show up and serve and try to get to the imposter syndrome actual slides. There's only a couple of them. We can talk about that, but we kind of talked around it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up on our Tuesday nights. If you're here live, hashtag live. If you're here watching the replay, hashtag replay. And every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, Scott and I go live and just talk about some really cool stuff. Sometimes we stay on topic if there is a topic, and sometimes we don't. But it always ends up in an interesting conversation, especially when you get engaged. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for being here. We will see you next Tuesday. As always, have a great, great Tuesday night.